Good morning! What was that song about rainy days and Mondays? Well, it's a Friday and it's pouring rain in north central Pennsylvania. I'm Jim Finch and I'm your host for another edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast. We're still in cleanup mode on the website with a total of 11 articles live on the site out of the previous 5,000 plus count. Yeah, it's a story for the end of the show. You stick around and hear my tale of a funny trip that started with a plugin update and ended up with me jumping ship. The first mate was a dumbass, fondly known as Jim. He's taking you on a voyage if you only get in the van with him. What? I never leave the house, I swear, officer. On that note, let's dive into GoFundMe Press with Rancor takes Thursday. A handful of late donations helped Garrett Press with Rancor Van Net win Thursday's GoFundMe title with a $95 haul based on donations made during Jose Chille DeCastro's live stream announcing Van Net's conviction of felony obstruction and resisting charges in Michigan. Van Net's win was powered by DeCastro fan Gloria A.D., who spammed DeCastro's chat during the live stream with reminders to donate. Her efforts ultimately resulted in 3 donations, including one by Gloria herself, to bring Rancor to the $95 win. The win demonstrates how reliant Van Net has been on DeCastro. Not only is DeCastro in the process of paying $48,000 in legal bills on Van Net's behalf, but he also spearheaded the defense, with attorney Jim Makowski parroting theories that DeCastro has spread over the past year. Van Net came off as a pawn in his own trial as DeCastro dominated every aspect of the case without bothering to have Van Net speak for himself. And later he blamed Van Net for the loss in court for standing his ground with the police, something DeCastro advocated to do, as that was what DeCastro claimed lost the case for him. In funding news, DeCastro claimed that he never withdrew the roughly $4,000 in Van Net's fund, so he announced the decision that the fund would be used to start Van Net's appeal. It's unclear if DeCastro made the decision on his own, or if Van Net was involved in the decision to move forward with the appeal. Makowski made it clear on DeCastro's live stream that he was not an appellate attorney, so he would only be representing Van Net at his sentencing. DeCastro would need to hire a new attorney on Van Net's behalf to handle the appeal, and Van Net would need to heavily rely on his GoFundMe and more direct donations to DeCastro to handle starting over with a new attorney. Long Island Audit's Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign came in second for the day, ending a long streak without a donation, and our own ongoing expenses fund took in third for the day with a $25 haul. On that note, if you'd like to join our hate watcher in making me wonder why Pants is apparently living in my crawl space to spy on me as he, she, they force me to continue to write this column each morning, we do have a GoFundMe of our own. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Hendry puts Prosecutor on notice. Craig Hendry issued a threat to prosecutors after he was not jailed on Thursday for contempt of court, as what he thought was a contempt of court hearing overseen by the prosecutor in the case turned out to be a preliminary hearing to set up the contempt of court case on August 15th. Hendry originally believed that prosecutor Jared D. Holtzclaw was working on his own in filing the hearing to determine whether there would be a hearing for contempt of court. He had accused Holtzclaw of acting as the judge in the case and overruling a request by Hendry to delay the hearing due to a conflict. Addressing this, Hendry apologized to Holtzclaw as the motion to reschedule was in fact overruled by the judge in the case, and Hendry simply had not yet received notice of the ruling. Turning his attention to the recording that Hendry aired on his channel that recorded a previous hearing in the case, despite a judge's order against recording in the courthouse, Hendry claimed that since Indiana and Illinois share a federal district court, then rules in Illinois should apply to Indiana. He found the case of People v. Clark in Illinois, which he claims establishes that recordings are media and media are a tool of the press and should be protected. It did not, however, establish that an Illinois lawsuit would impact anything to do with the Indiana case. Hendry also admitted that he has a poor memory and that a personal recording of the hearings should be allowed to help him prepare for future hearings. admitting that he was confused at one point when the judge and the prosecutor asked him what rights he thought were violated by the judge's ruling against filming in the courthouse. Hendry said freedom of the press, despite the press having the ability to record in the court after filing for permission to do so with the judge in advance. The YouTuber put Prosecutor Hortzclaw on notice that he was now armed with the Illinois ruling and would be able to prevail at the next hearing set for August 15, 2024. He also claimed he would be consulting an attorney who may take over the case. Hendry's call to action for fans to come to the hearing and a show of force resulted in 3 fans arriving to support him in person, along with Hendry's longtime friend Tyler Pierce and members of his family, including Henry's 2-week-old daughter. Press with Rancor found guilty. Jose Chille DeCastro's efforts to raise $48,000 to fund Garrett Press with Rancor Van Net's legal defense were in vain, as Van Net was found guilty of obstruction and resisting on Thursday in Michigan State Court. Van Net took up auditing on the recommendation of DeCastro, as he watched a few of DeCastro's videos before going out on his own, often stopping his car to approach police officers involved in traffic stops late at night. The imposing Van Net, standing well over 6 foot tall and possessing a low but gravelly voice that some have described as frightening, would appear out of the dark and refuse to cede ground to the police officers as he filmed, claiming that obstruction was a physical act and the police had no rights to stop him from recording their actions. Van Net always followed the instructions and procedures taught to him by DeCastro's videos. He was aggressive, he stood his ground, and he would attempt to dominate the police officers even after his arrest, parroting DeCastro's questionable beliefs in the law to the officers. In the arrest that was the basis of Thursday's trial, Van Net refused a direct order by the arresting officer to back away from the crime scene 15 times before taking a perceived step forward, which resulted in his arrest. DeCastro interviewed Jim Mikowski, the lawyer he hired to represent Van Net, and YouTuber Big Mike Audits, who he provided gas money to cover the case during the live stream. DeCastro did not feature Van Net on the live stream, as he described drama between the two, but did not specify what was going on other than Van Net would not be appearing. Mikowski said that because of the makeup of the jury pool in the heavily blue area, the outcome was stacked against Van Net. Blue is DeCastro's latest term for heavily conservative or police-supporting communities. The racial, social, or political backgrounds of the residents no longer matter. If they back the police, they are simply known as blue. The attorney indicated that he thought he had 2 jurors who would side with Van Net, but it did not play out that way, as the jury unanimously found Van Net guilty. He said that he would represent Van Net at the sentencing hearing, and Van Net currently faces up to 2 years in state prison. Mikowski cannot represent Van Net in the appeal, as he is not an appellate lawyer. As DeCastro decided that he would be appealing the case without apparently consulting Van Net, Mikowski said he would be putting DeCastro in touch with a lawyer friend who handles all of Mikowski's appeals cases. DeCastro then said he would be looking at attorneyssuperlawyers.com to find Van Net an appeals lawyer. Once Mikowski had left the stream, DeCastro questioned Big Mike if he thought that Mikowski threw the case or was just in it for the money. Big Mike vouched for Mikowski and said that he seemed like he was trying his best to represent Van Net during the trial, pointing out that Mikowski drove over 400 miles each way to represent Van Net. DeCastro seemed satisfied with Big Mike's answers about Mikowski's competency and renewed his pledge to pay the $24,000 he still owes the attorney for Van Net's defense. On that note, DeCastro now claims that he's not touched the $4,000 in Van Net's GoFundMe account. He currently paid $3,000 to Mikowski out of donations sent to him directly to his Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo accounts, and would be able to fund the $1,000 needed for Mikowski to get the transcript of the proceedings to move forward with the appeal. Van Net's case will be reviewed by the Department of Corrections, and he will be interviewed by the department to determine what sentence they will recommend. Van Net's past felony convictions will be a factor in determining the sentence. DeCastro urged his fans to petition the judge in the case for leniency, as it was a victimless crime with no damages and just annoyed police officers. Ignoring the felony status of the crime, DeCastro was determined that Mikowski would find a way to keep Van Nett out of jail. So what the heck happened? From what I figured out so far, our old, massively neat template slash site builder slash whatever didn't update. We used the JNews environment up until yesterday's update that bricked the site. That was their update. The plugin had never liked Elementor Pro, our preferred editor, and somewhere in the update it decided to kill the database, or corrupt it, or something strange to it. I know little about servers and databases. All I know is it was gone when I tried to access it on the site. Could I have probably restored it somehow through jumping through hoops? Yeah, probably. It would mean peopling, and at this point my tolerance for IT people and strangers is very, very low. Killing, starting over, recovering, yeah, all that were options. We ended up starting over. All of the news stories from the past 2 years need to be rebuilt. That'll be a slow and painful process, but I'll get it done. I have them all in Word files, so it's going to be a lot of cutting and pasting, but yeah, it'll get done. The 25-year-old blog posts, well, I'm going to have to get a hard drive fixed to get those back. That'll be a future problem. Comics will go back up at some point. I'm just so much on my mind that I don't know where to start or finish. I guess I don't know. I'm just getting back to work. We're now using an Elementor Pro template slash kit set that is native to the editor. It took a while to figure it out, and we'll be fixing the mobile version of it today to at least have menus. I think I have the refresh issues figured out, as mobile wasn't refreshing, and I spent the last 2 hours pulling my hair out figuring out why there were 3 different caches on the site and what I needed to do to make sure that updates go out. It should work now. ReallyCoolSite.org. That's ReallyCoolSite.org. I'm now heading back to bed with nothing to show from the morning, other than the site refreshes, hopefully, on mobile, and we'll work on the news after an hour or 2 of sleep. Thank you all for your support, both mentally and financially. We'll get the show back up on the road, and we'll also have receipts coming in the next couple of days for what we had to do to get the site back up. On that note, have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Remember, no new live shows until Monday.